going on, losers? I've been working without you. We're doing some interesting stuff today. So in the last video, we messed with the front suspension. Now we're doing the alignment.
What's up, losers? Hey, check out our new shirts.
Dang, those are pretty cool. Can't see the front, Levi. All right.
Later, losers.
This is the second to last thing we have to do before we can take the truck on the road. The last thing you guys won't see is just making an oil line for the oil cooler. I'll do that off camera. But anyways, what we're doing today is caster, camber, and toe alignment. If you look down here, we built this little compass, and it's got different degree on it. From 0 to 100, we figured out the truck has, it's really interesting because I think the Ackerman angle is backwards from what it should be. On the trailing tire, we can get about 52 degrees of steering angle. On the lead tire, it's about 40. It is what it is. Not a big deal. We can't adjust that because with the angle kit that I built, like I said, it is what it is. So what we start with is caster. So we're going to start setting up caster. We're going to do this side, then we'll move to that side. We'll have to lift the truck up, set the truck back down, resettle it, move to that side, do that side. Then we'll come back over here. We'll get camber dialed in. We'll go over there, get camber dial in, then we'll set toe, and then we're done. So that's super exciting. Yeah, I'm excited. Let's go ahead and get started. I gotta watch a video and read some directions and remember how to do caster. Caster's the hard one. Camber's easy, toe's easy, but caster is a pain in the butt. So we're gonna pause for a second. I'm gonna look that up and then we'll get started. All right, so to do caster, what we're gonna do is we're doing our left front wheel. So we're gonna turn to the left 20 degrees down on our little indicator. So that's about 10. And that's 20. So now we're gonna take our little gauge here. We're gonna hold it on the face of our wheel and we're gonna hit 0. We're gonna hit 0. All right, hold on. All right, there we go. So now it's reading 0. So on the face of our gauge, up against the wheel, we're at 0. Now we're gonna turn this to 20, the opposite direction. Good, so we're at 20. So now we take our gauge, put it nice and level, straight up on here. And we have 5.4 degrees. Now, here's the confusing part. This is the part that I don't quite understand. If you watch the Donut Media video about this, they say you multiply that number by 2. So that would give us 10 degrees of caster, which is like insane. It's not super insane, but that's a lot of self-steer. And I wonder if it really is 10, if that's why we're getting our crazy death wobble thing, because it's trying to self-steer back and forth so quickly, it's trying to correct itself that it passes center when it corrects, and then it passes center when it corrects. So we're aiming for closer to 5. That's what we want. So according to Donuts Media, we need to get this dialed in at a 2.2 or 2.5. That would give us 5 degrees of caster. Other videos, other things, like the directions that I actually have right here, they say you don't do that. So it just says rotate the gauge. This is for a bubble gauge, which we're not using. We do have one, and we could use it, I guess, if we're at 5. But it says to rotate it, and each mark represents half a degree, which it does on this too. So we could try that and see, maybe the bubble gauge is set up a little bit different versus that. This is what they used when Donut did it, and they multiplied it by 2. So the problem is we're at 5 already. So let's go ahead and bring this in a little. It's not reading right. Because it's on that surface, so it's reading that surface. We're gonna go ahead and bring this in, make it more reasonable, I guess, and then we'll go from there. All right, so the internet was no help. There's a few different things that people say. Some people say you don't multiply at all. Some people say you multiply by 1.5, and some people say you multiply by 2. So what we're gonna do, we're at 5 right now, according to our gauge. We're gonna set it at, if we turn this on, we're gonna set it, so it says it's at 2.9 right now. That's because we're not zeroed correctly. We were at 5. We're gonna set it to 2.5 is what we're gonna go for. So now we gotta redo all this that we just did and set it to 2.5. We also need to set air pressure. I totally forgot about that, but you need your air pressure to be correct when you do this. But we're gonna set it to 2.5 because if it's 2.5, that's not great for drifting, but it's not terrible. If it's multiplied by 1.5, that gets it basically a 4. It's a 3.9 or something like that. So that puts us effectively at 4. And if it's multiplied by 2, I guess it'd be 3.5, right? Somewhere in there. 2.5 to 3.75. No, that's not right either. Anyways, whatever it is. And then multiply by 2, that makes it 5. All of those numbers are okay. And we can take some out or add some if we need to. But that's what we're going to start with. So let's go ahead, redo our task here, our little thing, and then we'll go from there. So back to 20. And then we take our gauge, put it on our face, 0, we're at 0. Okay, so we're at 0. Now, we rotate this to 20 degrees forward, and we take our measurement. So we'll level this guy back out, and that gives us 5.1. Okay, Carissa, come here. I need you to hold this up against here.
Okay.
Wow, did it move that much that fast? That's crazy. Let's redo it and see. If it moved that much, we're at like 1, which is nuts. That was really quick. So back to 20. I'm going to 0 it. So we're at 0. Now back to 20, the other direction, 40 degree sweep. And measure it. No, I don't know why it changed. All right. What's it say?
1.3.
Really?
Yeah.
So,
Say there.
5. So that's crazy. Look at this. If we put this here, what does that say?
5.03.
Okay. But if we come over here, it says 1.4. That's nuts. All right. Well, anyways, 2.5 is what we're shooting for.
You're only at 4.
Okay. All right, so we got caster set. We're at 2.5 over here, and we're at 2.4 and a half over there. So we're calling caster dialed. Now, let me show you camber gauge. This is a bubble level camber gauge. So it has a bubble level right there. See that? And it's got one here. Now, this is magnetic, so if you got steel wheels, put it right on the wheel. If you got big faces on your wheels, you can put it right on the rotor. We don't have that option. So what we're doing is we're just holding it on the face of the wheel. We know the wheels are flat, so we stick it up here, we get our bubble gauge over here level, and then we check up here. We're just a little bit off 0. So we're gonna zero it out. We got it zeroed right there. So we're at 0 camber. We're using our rear wheels because we can't put camber into our rear wheels, so they're flat. So now we're gonna come up here and we're gonna stick it on this wheel, and it's gonna tell us what we got. So we got about 5 degrees of positive camber. That was changed because we were messing with our caster. So now what we're gonna do is, the way we do this is we take our lead wheel, and the way we figure lead wheel is when you're drifting and you're going this way, you're turning to the right, your right wheel is your lead wheel, your left wheel is your trail wheel. So we're gonna turn to the right about 60% of our steering lock, and then we're gonna set our lead wheel to 0 camber. So we're gonna turn right. If Carissa wants to go look over there, I think we determined it was about 25-ish degrees on that side. Okay. People are. All right, so we're at 25 degrees over here on our lead wheel. And what we're gonna do, as you can see, we have a shitload of camber on it. I don't know how much that is, but it's a bunch. Our gauge is gonna go to max. So we level this out. Yeah, it's all the way over at 6. So we can't read any more than that. What we're gonna do is we're gonna get this to 0. Here's the tricky part. I don't have tension rod adjustment. So we can't pull my tension rod to adjust caster, which is what you would typically do. We're using our control arm up top. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna try and pull both sides in at the same time. So we'll do one crank on one side, one crank on the other. One crank on one side, one crank on the other. Until we get to eyeballed, close to 0. And then we will start measuring from there. So we got to figure out which direction is the right direction. This way. Okay. So we'll get in here. All right. So we're all done. We got our toe done. We got our caster done. Got our camber done. And we watched a couple videos online, and a lot of the videos online said, in the comment section, they said, what I learned from this video was paying $75 for a shop to do it is well worth it. I think these two would agree. Dominic and Carissa have been helping me. Here, hold on. All right, so Dominic and Carissa were helping me, and this was an absolute pain in the ass. Everything about it was a pain in the ass. The digital angle finder was having a hard time. The bubble gauge worked much better for getting our camber and caster dialed. These tape measures, they're perfectly fine. I'm gonna kick these dogs' asses. Daisy is chasing Mia, being all crazy. Anyways, the toe plates were great. They're a little bit hard, a little bit of a learning curve, but we got it. We got a millimeter of toe out dialed into the truck. We have 1/2 degree of camber dialed into the truck, and we have 2.5 degrees of caster is what we're calling it because we don't know. Actually, no, it was 3 degrees of caster. We ended up settling at 3. So 3 degrees of caster in quotations because it could be 3, it could be like 4.5, or it could be 6, because we don't know what the equation is, but it gives us a good starting point. At any one of those numbers is a good starting point. And then we have 1/2 degree of camber. And the way we did camber was we turned our wheels to about 60% of full lock. And we set our camber to 0. And when we go back static, we're at 1 degree of negative, and 1 millimeter of toe. So it's a pain in the butt. If you have a shop that you can trust to do this, definitely recommend going there. We took this truck to a shop and they set up the original alignment. The wheel wasn't straight. And honestly, a lot of our settings that we just checked, like our caster wasn't even on each side. Obviously our camber wasn't, because we just replaced the control arms. But the control arms are the same length and camber wasn't the same on either side. So was any of it dialed in? I don't know. It is now, at least we hope. Maybe I'll take it to an alignment shop and see if they can throw it up on the rack and just print me off my numbers of what we're at. That would be pretty cool. And we can compare what we got here versus what the computer sees. But yeah, overall, I'm pretty happy with it. Like I said, it was a pain in the butt. I don't know what time it is. We got out here, it's 10 o'clock. What time we'd get out here? 7:30-ish? So like 7:30 to now 10. So it did take a while, but that's the thing. You're doing it yourself. You're making sure everything's right. So now what I want to do is we're going to go ahead and pick the truck up. We're going to rotate the suspension to full lock both directions. And I just wanted to show you guys that. And then that's the end of the video. We're out of here. It's time for bed. All right, so we got the truck up in the air. If you want to come over here, I'm going to show you what happened. So in the last video, let me go ahead and turn this. In the last video, we shortened this control arm by 1/2 inch. So compared to the old ones, compared to stock, they're 1 inch extended. So this is extended 1 inch over stock. And here's the problem. When we go full lock, we rub on our tension rod. Can you get up in there and see that? So we're rubbing on that tension rod. Now, there's a couple things we can do. We can either buy 240 tension rods and adapt those to fit, but really, I think the truck has a good amount of angle in it. And so I'm not super worried about it. What I think we're going to do is we are going to figure out how to build this. All right. Not sure the last thing we said. The camera ran out of memory, so we had to delete a few things. But here's where we're at. It rubs. We're going to bring it back a little bit to about here, which only loses us a couple degrees. And we're going to have to build a steering stop. So we have to find a good place to run into, and we're going to have to build a stop. If come around here, come to the back side and look in there. I'm going to get up underneath. If you look, right here is the end of the ball joint, the tie rod end. I was thinking maybe we can build like a triangle up off here that'll flatten into, boop, and it'll stop it. And that'll be our stop. So we'll just build like 2 triangles and a plate out there. We'll just have to make them the same size and then weld those up on there, and that should get us to a good steering stop. But that's where we're at. So front suspension is finished. Fingers crossed it stops the death wobble. We'll probably take it for a ride in the morning and we'll see what happens. If it goes away, we'll get a video. If it stays, we'll get a video. Fingers crossed it doesn't. We'll see you guys on the other side.